Hello everyone. Going to look at some Mexican bootleg monster toys in this one. Now, the first ones I'm going to show you technically may not be bootlegs because there are conflicting information sources about the Plastimarx company from Mexico that was part of Marx for sure until 1972 when Marx was bought out by Quaker Oats. And according to some people, the Plastimarx plant in Mexico was not included in that sale and became its own entity as Plastimarx. According to a source that I found on the internet a couple of days ago, it's totally the opposite. It was part of the sale, and it was owned by Quaker Oats. And then when Quaker Oats sold the Marx company in 1976 to Dunby Convex, the Plastimarx company stayed with Quaker Oats, which means that the Plastimarx company was technically still part of Marx proper as far as the original Marx company that was sold by Louis Marx to Plastimarx. So I don't know. I don't know which is true. I just know what I research. I wasn't there. So if anybody has any clarification on any of this, please put it in the comments. Anyway, I'm going to show you these that I know were made by Plastimarx in either the 70s or the 80s. Now these are the Marx Universal Monsters in this green color. And I also showed these in my Marx Universal Monsters episode. Here, this hunchback, you can tell there, it's got a blank circle, and then it's got the date barred out. These are pretty much marked like the orange original Marx Universal Monsters figures from, 1964. They first came out in 63. Anyway, anybody that wants to get all the details on the Marx Universal Monsters figures can go to my home page and locate that video pretty easily. There's the Wolfman. Let me show you these sculpts. These have some extra plastic flashing, like it looks like some werewolf ears on that Wolfman figure, and the quality isn't quite as good as it was with Marx. So, if Plastimarx was still owned by Quaker Oats, then technically these, should probably be considered Marx figures, even though the rest of the Marx company went to Dunby Convex, which took bankruptcy not long after that. But anyway, they might be bootlegs, they might not, but they're made in Mexico. And quality is not up to par with the Louis Marx original figures from the 60s. There's extra plastic on the Frankenstein monster's head there. And as we can see, they're marked on, the date is barred out. That was a Roman numeral where that bar is of 1963, and then the orange, the original ones were blue, teal blue, and then the orange ones that came out a year later, they barred that date out for that release of them. And here's the Phantom. And they're still great figures, and I like this color. It's just that the quality is not quite as high as it was with those original teal blue and orange Marx figures from the 60s. And here finally is the mummy, Charis mummy. Back in the good old days when we could get a Charis, in the 90s, Universal, they mandated that all the mummy character stuff was going to be the Boris Karloff version, and that's great. I mean, he's the king and all that, but we got a lot of good Charis mummies back in the day. Now here is another Plastimarx figure. This is Gutterball Annie. This is from Series 3 of the Nutty Mads. And you know, these don't say Plastimarx on the base or anything. You pretty much just have to do your research and find this stuff out, or watch these videos and find them out somehow, you know. But anyway, these came out originally in 1964, and I believe they were mostly made in Canada, or available in Canada by Marx in '64, and they're in a like that newer plastic in green. Now, anytime you see one of these in this tan, it's a Plastimarx repop. Which there again, it might not, you know, it's made by Plastimarx, but whether somebody considers that as part of original Marx or not, it's kind of up in the air. All right, that covers the Plastimarx stuff. Now, let's look at the Nutty Mads. Now, these are definitely Mexican. Hecho in Mexico. Says that on all of them. This is the Thinker. I don't know when these were made. I don't think they were made by the Plastimarx plant, although the quality is good on these. And some of the colors are unusual, like that purple, light purple. And here is Bullpen Boo Boo, the baseball player. And because of that color and all, that's not going to pick up good on the camera. But anyway, there he is, and it says Hecho in Mexico on all of these, and basically it's three different ones. And this is the football player end zone. It's three different ones in different colors, and I've got two of each of the three here. Here is the Bullpen Boo Boo in the purple. I really like that purple. I picked these up in quantity from an eBay seller quite a few years ago. And I've got several duplicates of these, and eventually I'll probably sell off some of the duplicates on eBay. I don't know, but I kept these for my collection because of the way they're marked, you know, and some of the unusual colors and such. There's another Thinker in the blue, and here is another Bullpen. Now, you know, it's funny, the cameras, I'm looking at my screen here as to what you guys are seeing in the video, and that's like a kind of a dull green on there, but it's really bright green in person. So, you know, sometimes what we see in person is not what we see on the camera. Anyway, that says Hecho in Mexico. In other words, made in Mexico. That's all those. Now, I don't think those are Plastimarx. These molds made their way to other Mexican companies after Plastimarx folded in, gosh, I want to say early 80s, probably. I don't know. That Plastimarx company, there's a lot of unknowns about that, or at least I don't know it. So anybody with the straight dope on that, let me know in the comments there, please. And that covers those guys. Those, as far as I know, are definitely the Mexican bootleg Nutty Mads. Now we're going to look at some ones here, the Marx Universal Monsters, that I know are definitely Mexican bootlegs. This is the Hunchback in a weird, I don't know, kind of a burgundy color. Blank circles on the bottom. Nearly all of the Mexican bootlegs, and there are a bunch of them, you see them on eBay all the time, that are for sale now of these Universal Monsters Marx figures. Nearly all of them have blank circles on the bottom, and there you see all that excess plastic there, and you know, the quality isn't great on them by any means, but you can find them in weird colors like this. And it's pretty cool for a, you know, a Marx collector, just for the variety of it. I like to have them, even though the quality isn't up to par, you know, with original Marx. Still, it's fun to have them, to add them to the collection. And there we see the blank circles on the bottom. There's a brown creature. I just thought, you know, for the weirdest color you could think of for the creature is probably brown. And here is kind of a dull orange Frankenstein monster. And you see, you know, the excess plastic there, and I should have cleaned it off a little better. Those have been on my shelf for a while, and you know, you can't get away from the spider webs and stuff. And there looks like the remnants of that bar that was on the where the date used to be. So I guess maybe they just put something over those circles to make them blank when they were molded, because that bar is still kind of showing through there. And here's a cool one. This this Phantom of the Opera here is in black, and anytime these things are in black, they look pretty cool. There again, empty mold circles. Definite bootlegs. And you can get those off of eBay now in different colors for varying prices. Here's the Mummy in kind of a dark green. Blank mold circles. Usually they're like between $10 and $20, and then of course you've got the problem of shipping from Mexico, which is a little more expensive, but mainly it's just the weight. I mean, it's like, I don't know, a month or two anyway just to get the stuff. So let's look at some unusual ones now. This has come up in some of my other videos. This, I found out a little more about it though for this one. This is a Marx Monsters style Mexican bootleg. There, the bottom doesn't even have mold circles, it's just blank. What this is, the body is made from the Penn Plax Creature ornament, which I will show you. I pulled this out for this video. It's not a Mexican bootleg or anything. It's just a re-release of the original Penn Plax Creature ornament by Vinnie's. There it says Vinnie's. And that's what the Penn Plax Creature ornament looks like. They originally came out in the 70s. This is a re-release from the 90s. And I wanted to show this to show you the similarity in, you know, the body style. They got the mold for this down in Mexico, and they started knocking out, you know, these bootlegs of the body of this thing. It's pretty hard to find this particular one here with this weird-looking fish-type head. You most often see the creature, the bootlegs in rubber, like jigglers, that look like this. And they got that little fin thing on the stomach there, you know. I also found out what the head is. I thought it was some kind of a fish head, but it's actually from a finger puppet from the 70s. They're called finger frights. So they used a finger puppet mold to do the head, and the Penn Plax Creature ornament to do the body. It's a weird looking thing, man. And I saw some images on the internet of those finger puppets. In one of the images, it listed this as a gigantor, and I don't know what that refers to, if that was the particular name of that particular finger puppet. The line was called finger frights. I think they were rubber. So, you know, anybody with any info on that can chime in too in the comments, be appreciated. Now we have a blow mold Gigan knockoff. I love any kind of blow mold monster toy. I mean, I just love blow mold because I grew up with that stuff. And you know, you can move this thing a little bit. You can move its legs and its arms, and of course it's not true to Gigan whatsoever, because in the real Gigan, the original Gigan, it doesn't have hands. These are like Godzilla arms. It has these big curved spikes where the hands would be, and it's got these horns that come around to the sides of the mouth there, the beak or whatever. But you know, its head mostly, and it looks a lot like Gigan, so I just call it a bootleg Gigan. Anyway, that's pretty cool. You can find those occasionally. You can move the tail a little bit, and I don't think they're very expensive. I mean, I haven't checked prices on that for a long time. Now here is something that is expensive. It's a Mexican bootleg blow mold creature from the Black Lagoon figure. The arms move, and you know the sculpt is really stylized, but it's not bad. It's pretty cool. It's like 13 inches tall. It's got these big flat feet, and with the chains, of course, you know, harkening back to the Marx Creature with the chains, which is taken from the second Creature movie, Revenge of the Creature, where he was chained up in Marineland. And these particular bootlegs of this toy right here are very hard to find now. And when you do find them, they've gotten really expensive. Like when they finally ever do turn up, it seems like nowadays they sell for like $200 or $300. A few years ago, a lot of those came up in different colors. You could get them, you know, like with mixed colors, the way they molded the body, like in pink and blue and greens and all kind of weird color combinations. Some of them were like rainbows. There were so many different colors. I'd like to have more than that, but I only have that one in my collection because they're so hard to find now. And when you do find them, it's hard to afford them. But anybody that knows any more about that, I would really appreciate knowing more about that too. So please, info in the comments would be very much appreciated, even if it's something you're not really sure about, because a lot of this is just supposition, you know, as far as what we know about the origins of this stuff. So the more input we get, the more we can better form an idea about what's really going on with it. And that, as far as I know, probably came out in the 70s, that blow mold creature. I'm thinking 70s. I think 60s is probably too early for that thing. And it wouldn't have, I don't think it would have been later than the 70s. So somewhere in the 70s probably would be when that thing came out. I looked on eBay. I couldn't find any listings, you know, for any that were for sale now or that had been sold. So a few of them came up a few years ago. You know, like, I don't know, 8 or 10 years ago, and that's when I got that one. I think I had to give over $100 for that one. I just wanted to get one, you know. And then gradually they just started to disappear, and now, you know, like I haven't seen any listings for any in a long time. So evidently, like, there was some kind of a find down there, and they don't make them anymore. I mean, if they still had the ability to make them, they probably would be cranking them out because people would certainly buy them. And we got kind of a similar situation with these little figures here. Now, I don't know anything about these guys. There are 5 of them. They're Universal Monsters. They're stylized versions. And I think they're like 4 inches tall. Well, no, wait a minute. I think they might be a little bit more than 4 inches. Yeah, I just checked. This Frankenstein monster is 3 3/4 inches tall. I think these just look wonderful. And they, you know, they stand fairly well, and they look great, I think. And the only thing I could find out about them currently on the internet, some website, either Mexican or Spanish, probably Mexican, they listed some that they had for sale. There was a bagged version of them with, let's see, House of Dracula, looked like a custom header card. And all 5 of these dudes, this is the Dracula here. All 5 of these monsters were in it in different colors. And when I bought these, I couldn't believe it because I had never seen these things before, never heard of them. But it was probably like 5 or 6 years ago, I'm thinking, from an eBay seller, and I got them, you know, they weren't that expensive. This guy kind of reminds me of, because of the way he's kind of bent over running there, it kind of reminds me of Drac from the Groovy Ghoulies. But anyway, I don't remember exactly what I paid for them, but I think it ended up being like $5 a piece. Bought them all at once in this cool green color. There's the mummy. I mean, look at that. That's just really cool. And I'm thinking, whatever happened with these molds? They're either lost or something, because they could crank these things out and sell the crap out of them, man. You know, to monster collectors. But anyway, that one website that I found them in, they had like one set of 5 for sale in various colors, and they were like $250. I guess that's owing to the scarcity of them. I don't know. Here's the Hunchback. You know, I mean, I wouldn't give that much, but maybe they could get it, you know, from a collector with deep pockets that just, there's some of this stuff that is just so rare and unheard of that just because of the rarity of it and the coolness factor, people with the money will give a lot for it. Here's the Wolfman. This guy's pretty cool too. See if I can get the camera to focus on that guy so you can see. Yeah, this color green looks cool, but it doesn't show off the detail that great for the camera. But these guys just really look neat. And now this is a set of figures that I would make a custom playset for. I'd build a whole custom playset around these 5 guys, if I could find the right stuff to go in it, which I never could. I never could find a good like plastic haunted house. And I've seen all the regular stuff, you know, comes up on eBay, the Weebles haunted house and the Matchbox and all that crap. None of it's that great, and it wouldn't fit with something like that. It'd have to be something that looks like it was from a Marx or MPC playset from the 60s, probably, maybe the 70s. And, you know, draw up a box for it, and you could populate it with, you know, victims, the victims and villagers that would be in a situation like that with those Universal Monsters. And it would make a fantastic playset, but I just display those on my shelf, you know, because they look super cool. Don't know a thing about them. I don't know what you call them. I don't know who made them. I do know that they're from Mexico. That's all I know about them. And they got to be bootleg because, you know, they are not, these are not mainstream toys. They got to be bootlegs. So, really weird. Anyway, please, anybody that knows anything about those guys, those green Universal Monsters, or the Plastimarx company, or that Mexican blow mold creature, you know, please help us out and put the stuff in the comment section. And you know, I'll make another video about this and put it out so that you know, we can all get the scoop on it. You know, once we get enough good information together. So I really appreciate you watching this, and you know, if you guys have any Mexican blow mold, any Mexican bootleg, whether they're blow mold or not, monster toys, please let us know. I mean, I'm curious. I know a lot of collectors have a lot of those things, and I'm really curious about what other people have. So you know, put it in the comments. Let's get some conversation going about it, because it's a cool area of collecting, you know, for monster collectors. So I'm out of here. See you next time.